shit.
Hi everyone and welcome to the contingency plan. I have no idea how the subject of this video came up, but once I started thinking about it, I realized that as disturbing as it is, there is probably a lot of truth to it. Sadly, this almost exclusively has to do with how men will target women. I don't really envision any scenarios where good-looking guys are going to be directly affected one way or another. I don't see men or women targeting attractive men in regards to violence. However, if you're an attractive female, as horrible as Shit Hits the Fan will be in general, I feel it may be even worse for you. Also, and this makes it even worse, I don't believe age will play a factor much at all. If you're a female and you're visually appealing, you will be targeted more so than if you were considered homely, below average, or just plain ugly. We've all heard countless times how men are visual creatures. Most of them couldn't care less if you're smart enough to rub two sticks together. If you have a nice body or they find you visually appealing in any way, you will catch their attention. And in a Shit Hits the Fan situation, you do not want to draw any attention to yourself at all, positive or negative. As much as the gray man method is going to be a challenge for many people because of their narcissistic behavior, being an attractive female is going to increase that difficulty dramatically. Once rule of law is out the window, the only thing that is going to prevent men from targeting beautiful women is their own moral compass. If they lack one to begin with, or it fades over time, attractive females may end up having the most difficult time during Shit Hits the Fan of anyone. The conditions we may find ourselves living in over time will have some effect on a woman's appearance, simply due to the lack of hygiene and clean water we may have available to us. But a visually attractive female is still going to be considered attractive to many men, even after we all start to look a little rough around the edges. To make it worse, over time, standards are going to drop. So even if you consider yourself borderline attractive today, 6 months into a shitty situation, you may go from a 5 to an 8 in the eyes of men with nothing to lose and no laws to keep them in check. Today, being considered beautiful is a goal many try to attain on a daily basis. In a Shit Hits the Fan world, attractive women may switch to trying on purpose to ugly themselves up as much as possible. This tactic will work to some extent, but overall probably won't have much of an impact on whether or not you are targeted by men intent on doing you harm. Most will still be able to single an attractive female out of a group rather easily. And as if this all wasn't bad enough, it gets worse. Assuming you survive any actual assaults, in a post-apocalyptic world, the last thing you're going to want is a pregnancy, let alone an unwanted pregnancy. That's an entirely different video all to itself. So what's the solution? Trying to ugly yourself up isn't a viable option. In my opinion, there are two things you have available to you. The first is keeping a low profile by, for the most part, staying out of sight. This one sucks because it's basically a form of self-imposed imprisonment. As bad as Shit Hits the Fan will be in general, it would be even worse if you had to hide the entire time and limit what little freedom you did have. The second option is something that you can do starting today, and that is learning to defend yourself. Not only do you need to train to become efficient with weapons, but you need to learn to defend yourself long enough to gain access to a weapon. It won't do you any good if you have a handgun in your waistband, but someone comes up from behind, gets you in a bear hug, and you don't know how to get out of it. You need to learn some basic self-defense moves well enough to create the distance required to gain access to your weapon, and then know how to use it effectively once you do. This involves more than just being able to hit your target, but also includes weapon retention skills. Having a weapon does you no good if you basically just end up giving it to your attacker. Clearly, these skills are not something you need to know only if you are an attractive female, but the odds of you being targeted, in my opinion, will drastically increase if you are. As important as weapon proficiency, retention, and self-defense skills are to us all, they are even more important for a beautiful female. Do not expect your husband, boyfriend, son, or friend to protect you. Nobody will be able to protect you better than you can protect yourself, if you know what you are doing and are smart about it. As much as I'd like to say this won't be a problem if things go high and to the right, common sense tells me otherwise. Even if Shit Hits the Fan never happens during our lifetime, knowing these skills will make you safer and more confident overall regardless. Knowing how to target and strike the throat, groin, hands, eyes, knees, and any other sensitive areas long enough to create the distance required to gain access to your weapon, and then being proficient with that weapon is vital. Along with situational awareness, this is going to be the number one thing you can do to protect yourself. You don't need to become Bruce Lee, You just need to create the little bit of distance required to then execute a mag dump on the thread. Speaking strictly for myself, I don't want any of you to ugly yourself up simply to deter predators. You should do everything that you can to safely live your life the way you choose to for as long as possible, regardless of the overall circumstances we may find ourselves in. Learning how to properly protect ourselves is important for us all, but for attractive females, they need to be extra vigilant, and that includes proper training when it comes to defending themselves, as well as an increased level of situational awareness. Thank you for watching, and God bless each and every single one of you.